Hey everyone, it's me. I want to talk about my experience when it came to making the decision to knock on my estranged daughter's door or not. And this is after my youngest left at the age of 19. I've discussed this before. Oldest was kind of living in various areas, and I really didn't have an address for her. And she was fine. I believe she was working in, um, living in an apartment, maybe with a friend or whatever. But I knew my oldest, she was out there and she was okay and she was surviving. And so that one, I have no doubt my oldest daughter, despite the estrangement, is most likely thriving in a way where she is, standing on her own 2 feet. And yet, I also have a youngest daughter who's been estranged for over a decade, and in that time, she got married and she has now 4 children. And I have not been included in anything. And I brought it up to a friend years ago. We're talking probably 5, 6, 7 years ago. I think it was around that time. I don't remember. But my friend said, if you really want to find your daughters, you can on the internet. And I thought, okay. And I was able to find them because I knew my daughter's husband's name and her new married, her last name. And I didn't even know what city she lived, but I was able to locate her. And I used publicinfoservices.com. And it gives you current information and previous information. So it gives you current addresses, previous addresses, phone numbers, etc. List of, just a myriad of information. So I got the information, and through the county website, I was able to locate um, the home she lived in, to ensure that her and her husband own the home according to you get your yearly tax assessment and things like that. So I was able to verify they own the home because, sorry, I can't spit it out. The information, the ownership of every home is public information. And so I was able to verify, and then I had the information, and I knew that I had grandchildren, at least 2 at that time. And I was so desperate to get a glimpse of them, to see how much they look like my daughter, anything. And so, armed with the information, my heart was just pounding. And my anxiety was off the charts. And I'm sorry I'm getting emotional because this was really, really tough. And so I drove out. It was about a half an hour drive. The whole way my heart was pounding, and as I'm getting closer, it was a sunny day. I don't even remember if it was spring or summer. I don't. And I drove past the house. There was an SUV in the driveway. The garage was open. The screen door was closed, but the front door was open. And I drove past slowly, and I parked down the block from the house. And I was frozen. Here I am, my heart's racing. I'm frozen in the seat, and I decide to to message a friend. And I said, I'm sitting down the block from my youngest daughter's house. And this is someone who knew my situation and knew my heartache and knew my tears and knew my pain. And I said, I don't know what to do. And she says, well, what are you going to do? I just didn't know. And I thought about my precious grandchildren who don't know me. And I said, I can't do this to them. I don't want their first memory of me to be of my daughter slamming the door in my face as if I was coming to hurt them or cause them pain or, you know. And I certainly didn't want the police to be called and these precious children to be in the midst of this, despite what I wanted. I couldn't do it. I had to put my car and drive away. And that was the hardest decision I made because I saw the house was open. So there were people home. And I knew my grandchildren were in that house. And I knew my daughter was in that house. But I couldn't. I couldn't do it. And I'm sorry I'm so emotional. This is really, really tough because I know what everyone's going through. And so I had to put my car and drive away. And I had to make the decision that I could not interrupt my grandchildren's lives. I couldn't do it. I couldn't put them through that. They are innocent victims in all of this. And that brings forth something we should take into consideration if we get an exact location, whether it's a home, where our children are working, where they hang out, what gym they go to, what church they go to, their in-laws' houses. I had the overwhelming desire to go see. I wanted to just see. And what we have to do is, my thought, I have a lot of friends and I have certain family members where I know if I go knock on the door, they open up and I walk in and they invite me in. And I know if I go to my favorite cousin's house, even if I showed up unannounced, he would say, "Hey, how's it going?" And I could just walk in and visit, etc., which I wouldn't do because I don't go places uninvited. But if I know reaching out, knocking on a door, showing up, if I'm not sure about it, the answer is no. And secondly, if it causes me anxiety thinking about doing it or showing up, if I am riddled with anxiety, that means I should not do it. I could ask a million people, what should I do? What should I do? And you get half will say do it. Half will just say show up, show up, show up. And the other half will say don't. Do not risk your mental and emotional and physical well-being. Do not risk it. The answer already lies within you. When I go somewhere invited and I know they're going to open the door, I don't have anxiety. Showing up, when my grandma was alive, I could just go over, walk in her house, and there was no anxiety. Just go and walk, and she'd greet you and tell you to get the soda from the basement and things like that. But if showing up somewhere is causing me anxiety, that's my body telling me to stop and turn around and go back home. It's a good indicator of it's already our conscience telling us this is not going to be good for you. So that's what I did. I have no regrets putting my car in drive and leaving. I just don't. And I had to I had to put the well-being and welfare of my grandchildren before myself. I had to think about them. And I just know if they were to come and knock on my doors when they get older and they can, they get around, I will open the door for them and welcome them in with open arms and start a journey with them the same way when a woman gives up a child for adoption and the child comes back. They start a life then and there. They start memories then and there. So it's it's never too late, as we don't know what the future holds. We don't know if our estranged children are going to come back and say, "Hey, I want you to meet your grandkids." We don't know. All I had to do in the meantime was get busy and establish myself as a single person, um, walking primarily by herself. I've discovered myself, found myself. I got busy. I got into arts and crafts and discovered my inner talents. And I started to walk this journey with different people. People who would open the door for me if I knocked. So I wanted to share this. I hope to God this helps. I know we're desperate for answers, but sometimes the answer already lies here. So listen to your body, pay attention to the signals, and if anything you think about doing, it already causes your heart to race, it's probably not a good idea. Unless it's something really exciting like going to a concert, something that brings you joy, something you've been waiting to see. I love Rod Stewart, and I love going to his concerts. And when I get tickets, I go to the concert, I'm so excited. But it's a good excitement. Also, my husband and I saw the Foo Fighters last year. We're also going to go this year to Harley Fest because Harley's in Milwaukee. We have a huge festival. And I'll tell you, I cannot wait to see them. So that's a good excitement. So things that you plan that are good excitement, those are always good. But if it's anxiety ridden and heart pounding, just think about that. That's a good indicator that you shouldn't be going in that direction. So it's never too late to go in reverse, turn around and go back home and do something nice for yourself. Be proud of yourself when you've made a good decision for yourself. So that's all I wanted to say. I know this is a long video, but that's it. We'll talk with you soon. Bye-bye.